Tonight's video is going to familiarize yourself with the model of the atom that was developed by Rutherford. So this model of the atom is very useful for us as we start to think about atomic structure and what it means for chemical reactions. So the goal of this video is just to get you used to thinking in terms of protons, neutrons, and electrons, and it's going to teach you a special notation for figuring out different things. So the first subatomic particle we're going to consider is the proton. So protons are in the atom, and they exist in that center of the atom that Rutherford discovered, the nucleus. They have a positive charge, as you can see here. They have a positive charge. Each proton has a charge of +1, and it has a mass of 1. That is 1 AMU, atomic mass unit. So the proton has a positive charge. So now let's see what happens when I put a neutron in. Now neutrons also exist in the nucleus. They exist in that center of the atom. Now the charge did not change at all. So neutrons have a neutral charge. They have a mass of 1 atomic mass unit. So if I have 1 proton and 1 neutron, the total mass of my atom is 2 atomic mass units. Now notice I added a neutron. I did not change the identity of my atom. Now let's see what happens when I add another proton. Well, now all of a sudden, this is no longer a hydrogen atom, it's a helium atom. So if I change the number of protons, I change the type of atom that it is, the element that it is. If I change the number of neutrons, I retain the same element identity. All right, so we're protons and neutrons. Let's review. Protons have a positive 1 charge. Neutrons have a neutral charge. And protons and neutrons both have a mass of 1 atomic mass unit. And the proton changes the identity of the element, but the neutron doesn't. Let's start adding electrons. So I'm going to drag this electron to the center of the atom where I have everything else. Oh, it actually does not exist in the center of the atom. It exists in these energy levels around the center atom. It exists basically in a cloud around the center atom. It orbits around the center atom. As you can see, it has a charge of -1. So if I have 2 protons and 2 neutrons, 2 protons and 2 electrons, my total charge is 0. I've completely balanced out my protons and electrons. But let's look at the mass here. The mass of this atom, this helium atom, is 5 atomic mass units. No matter how many electrons I add, I'm not changing the mass. I'm changing the charge over here, but I'm not changing the mass. So electrons effectively have a mass of 0 atomic mass units. All right, so I wanted to give this picture of an atom for you to have in your head when we go over the slides. If you want to play around with the simulator again, I'll attach a link and you can play around with that on your own. But let's look at a little of the terms that we can define here. So, again, we have a proton. Its symbol is So we have a proton. Its charge